1:30. I'd like to call the meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission for February 18, 2019 to order. Roll call, Commissioner Clare.
Present.
Commissioner Littlefield. Not here. Commissioner White. Not available. Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Schuline.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner George. Not available. And Commissioner Milner.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Can I have a motion concerning the minutes of the January 25th, 2019 meeting?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Hale. If we could just hold on that, let the record show that Commissioner Littlefield is here. Okay, so would you say that again, please?
Motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from January 25th from Commissioner Hale. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Milner. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Milner. Votes, please. Okay, item is approved. Okay, there's no report from the licensed taxi and record services from the until April. There's no items on the consent docket, so we'll go ahead and go to items for individual consideration. Item 5A, William A. Veach, Secretary, Shirley Hills HOA number 2 and Traffic Management Division, to consider request to 1, change the speed limit on Shirley Hill Boulevard between Northwest Expressway and North Mustang Road from 35 to 25 miles per hour, or item 2, change the speed limit on Shirley Hill Boulevard between Northwest Expressway and North Mustang Road from 35 to 30 miles per hour. Hi, sir. If I could have your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
William Beach, 11700 Northwest.
Could you pull the mic up to you, please, sir? Thank you. Sorry about that. Very good. Thank you.
Try it again.
There you go. Yeah, if you could, please.
William Veach, 11700 Northwest 119th.
All right. Thank you very much.
And I am said secretary for the HOA. And the reason we requested this change is Surrey Hills is maturing, just about completely built out at this time. We have another 52 units of duplexes going in, plus I think 81 units of adult over 65 along Surrey Hills Boulevard, plus at the approximate intersection of Hastings and Surrey Hills Boulevard, we have a couple of duplexes down there with small children, and they are the ones that really started the effort to have the speed limit dropped to 25 miles an hour, which I cannot argue against. They have small kids, they play in the front yard. If a ball should go out in the traffic at 35 miles an hour, that's 51 feet per second. At 25, it's not a great drop, but it's 37 feet per second. And you can certainly stop quicker at 25 than at 35. Plus, it would make a uniform speed limit throughout the entire subdivision, easier for all of us to remember. I did check the numbers from the 2 samples that were taken. I agree entirely with the procedure and with the results. I'm a statistician by trade. So kudos to whoever ran the study. And that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5A? Okay, staff input, please.
All right, you've got our comments before you. One thing I will go back and point out is the speed limit on Surrey Hills Boulevard was changed in the past. In 1991, the commission increased it from 25 to 35. And at that time, the 85th percentile on Surrey Hills Boulevard was running at 32 miles an hour. Our current speed study indicated that the 85th percentile is running at 34 miles an hour. And in recognition of that, that's one of the reasons why we have introduced an alternative for the Commission's consideration, which is to potentially look at maybe an alteration to 30 miles an hour on this particular stretch of road. Another thing to consider is from the expressway to Mustang Road, that would make, if it was reduced to 30, it would be consistent with the speed limit that's posted on Mustang Road itself. So it's just throwing that out there for the Commission's consideration. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, do we have a motion concerning item 5A?
Motion to approve item 2, change to 30 miles an hour.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Clare to approve subpoint number 2, which is disapprove subpoint 1. Correct? Okay,
Correct.
all right. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Miller. Do we have any discussion on this item?
I had a question for the applicant, and were you aware that there's some, that the city has started to put together some traffic calming measures, and I just wanted to let you know that those are available. It's currently in its kind of infancy right now, but that might be an option to look into for the neighborhood. And then also, just because of the design of that entry road, I think there's some things that you could do as a neighborhood to possibly improve that. Street trees is one thing that kind of helps drivers, creates visual cues for them and kind of narrows their, so those have been proven to kind of slow traffic. So that might be something you want to consider as a neighborhood as well.
Okay. Any other talk on item 5A? We have a motion to approve item 5A, subpoint 2, disapprove item 5A, subpoint 1 from Commissioner Clare, seconded by Commissioner Miller. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. We go on now to item 5B, Warren Scruggs, Business Manager, Heartland Baptist Bible College, to consider a request for the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of North Sterling Avenue, Evan Hale Road, and Northwest 10th Street. Hi, sir. Have you filled out one of these yet? No, that's okay. When you're done, if you could fill one of these out for us. Okay, if I could have your name, your address, and you have up to 5 minutes, sir.
Okay. Warren Scruggs. The address of the college is 4700 Northwest 10th Street. I'm the administrator over the business affairs for the college. With me today is Mr. Jamie Jett, the administrator over safety and security for the college. As representatives of Heartland Baptist Bible College, we respectfully request the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of Northwest 10th and Evan Hale to improve traffic safety. The intersection is the only access to our campus as Evan Hale dead ends to the south. We currently have given us a daily count, over 500 people daily. The number increases to over 1,500 people during 5 of our annual events, which each have a peak time of vehicles exiting at once. And when you add the fall opening days to these 5 annual events, giving us a total of 6 annual events, the daily vehicle count would be significantly higher than the daily count that your staff has on record of 1,562 at the intersection going north and south. The daily traffic accessing Evan Hale Road from Northwest 10th Street includes Redlands Construction down to the far south of the Evan Hale, hauling heavy equipment on 18-wheeler type vehicles, and then we also have large trucks, trailers, and other vehicles accessing public storage there. And residents of a trailer park, of course the students, staff, and faculty of Heartland Baptist Bible College, as well as Heartland Baptist Academy, and customers of Alligator Alley. To the north, we have customers accessing AM Supply. They must head north on Sterling from Northwest 10th, as well as residents of the Housing Addition on Northwest Sterling. The collision history from 1998, when the college moved here, through 2017 indicates an average of more than 5 collisions each year, with a high of 14 collisions in a single year. Potential for bodily injury has increased due to the pedestrian sidewalk installed along the south border of Northwest 10th Street, because collisions often result in vehicles being spun out of control into the south easement rather of Northwest 10th. They could obviously be fatal to pedestrians. Drivers on Northwest 10th often speed through this intersection, increasing the chance for collision. And then one of the biggest concerns here is when east and westbound 10th Street drivers are waiting at the same time to turn left at this intersection, neither can see the blind spot the other vehicle creates. Many have turned not seeing oncoming traffic, and and when they are hit by oncoming traffic. Now, when drivers northbound on Evanhale Road are waiting to turn left on 10th Street, they face an unusual challenge of seeing all the traffic and to know whether it's clear to make a left-hand turn onto 10th Street or not. Your staff report associated with this request indicates that visibility is sufficient. However, there's something about this intersection that makes it very unsafe. It could be the row of trees to the left or the tree to the right, just the lay of the land, the surroundings. Hard to say for sure, but for sure it is a very difficult intersection to make a left-hand turn at. I make it 5 times a week coming Evanhale onto 10th Street. Very difficult to see all the traffic. Our college president told Mr. Jett and myself that turning left from Evanhale onto Northwest 10th is one of the most difficult turns of any he has experienced in Oklahoma City. Young drivers access our campus daily and must navigate through this busy intersection to do so. College students and high school students are making these difficult turns. Young drivers. All residents and business operators within 300 feet of the intersection gladly and enthusiastically signed a petition indicating neighborhood agreement with this request. Statements Mr. Jett and I heard from the petition signers include, "It's way overdue. It's a miracle no one has been killed. We absolutely need it. Thank you for requesting a traffic signal here." There was no doubt by anyone how much this traffic signal is needed. All are very much in favor. So as representatives of Heartland Baptist Bible College, the students, their parents, our staff and faculty, we respectfully request that you approve this for the purpose of increasing traffic safety at the intersection of Evanhale Road and Northwest 10th Street. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else wants to speak on item 5B? Okay, staff input, please.
All right, you've got our comments before you. We did do a traffic signal warrant analysis based on the METCD using the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit that's posted on 10th Street. The location currently does not meet any of the criteria. We do note that it does come close to satisfying the warrant requirements for warrant 3, which is for the 4-hour warrant, which is warrant 2, and because there were 4 correctable collisions in the most recent reporting year of types that would be considered correctable through use of a traffic signal, it would come close to meeting the warrant for warrant 7, which is a crash experience. So the balance of the comments are there before you in the staff report. Should the commission consider approval of the request for the installation of a signal at this intersection, staff is recommending that approval include roadway widening in order to provide dedicated left turn lanes on Northwest 10th Street to provide for safer left turn access to Sterling Avenue and to Evanhale Road. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay. If this got approved and it would go into the normal funding pool, is that what you're saying?
Well, that's correct. This particular project, because it's not part of a bond program, an identified bond program, we would, if it was approved at this point in time, we would send a recommendation to the Public Works Director to add this as an unfunded signal project.
And sir, are you aware of how that works with the funding? Seeing as you would not be bringing any money to the table, it would go into the city system, and when it would float its way up, and then it would go through that process. Yes, sir. Yes, you are. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Do we have a motion concerning item 5B?
Mr. Chairman, I move to disapprove this motion, but I have a comment I want to make at the end of it. But for right now, I'm moved to disapprove it request.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Miller to disapprove item 5B. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second by Commissioner Hale. Do we have any talk on this item? Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Miller to disapprove item 5B, seconded by Commissioner Hale. Can I have your votes, please? Okay. Item is disapproved. Okay. Sir, you had some comments on this item?
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Gregg, what I saw when I reviewed this is even though the staff's right, it doesn't meet the warrants for a traffic signal, but the accident collision history and what you've said here today, I strongly believe that you need left turn bays on 10th Street at this location. And that's what I'm recommending, that we send a letter to the Public Works Director from this commission that we think enough that left turn bays are warranted, that we'd like to see those implemented as soon as possible. Now, that doesn't mean you can't come back later and ask for a traffic signal. And even if you do, it's a lot easier to get traffic signals. They're a lot cheaper if the left turn bays, because they're going to want you to put the left turn bays in anyway. So if we can get those put in ahead of time, it'll make it a lot easier for the traffic signal to get, because you'll have all the turn, and it makes it a lot safer. You just told me that the scary part about turning left there off 10th Street. So that's my reason.
Okay, staff, you have his comments? You're able to work on
I've got the recommendation from Commissioner Miller to forward a request basically to the Public Works Director to submit a project to widen Northwest 10th Street for turn lanes at this intersection.
Okay.
And we will do that following the conclusion of this meeting.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, we go on now to item 5C, Penny Curley, Creative Container, Inc., to consider a request for the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of South MacArthur Boulevard and Southwest 36th Street. Hello, ma'am. If I could have your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes, please.
Okay. My name is Penny Curley. My home address is 7709 Westwood Lane in Oklahoma City. I work at Creative Container, which is at 5600 Southwest 36th Street. I have to utilize this intersection at South MacArthur and Southwest 36 daily. Well, I don't absolutely have to, but it's the quickest way to get from where I work to get on my way home, which is out by Mustang. I have looked over your report, only had a couple of days to do that when I found out about it. In the report, the DPS collision data is from 2017, January to December, and it states that there were 3 collisions at that intersection. In 2018, there were at least 6. One was a collision that I was in, and one was the result of a fatality. Also in the collision that I was in, there was an injury and a ride to the hospital for the gentleman in the other vehicle. I noted in the report that it showed approximately a sight line being 10 foot back from the intersection, I believe, and 3.5 foot high for a person being in a vehicle about 3.5 feet, if I remember right. Well, I was driving a Ford F-250, so I'm almost 6 foot high. There are trees you can see in the photograph on page 18 along Southwest 29th on the southbound side. They're on the other side of that van up there, that in August, when I had my accident, were in full bloom, and you could not see the traffic coming from the south, which that is what I got hit by, was a car coming from the south that I did not see. In talking to the body shop about my F-250, it totaled my F-250 because the car that hit me so hard that it buckled the floor of the cab of my pickup. So that vehicle was probably going in excess of 60 miles an hour, which is a lot of what we see when we're sitting at this intersection getting ready to turn. If they're doing 45, we probably have room. But if they're doing it in excess of 60 miles an hour, we do not have room. Another thing that I noticed when I was going over this report, it looks like there was a speed study done on January the 9th. This was during the government shutdown and did not take into account traffic from FAA, which also utilizes MacArthur on a daily basis and is especially heavy in the mornings and in the afternoons. In my letter, I noted that we're an industrial part of this business park. There are a lot of 18-wheelers that utilize this intersection on a daily basis. They're waiting to turn on to MacArthur, whether they be going north or south, and they're having to sit at that intersection, and I have seen them wait so long, they just go ahead and turn, and traffic has to stop anyway. So I hope that you will consider the installation of a traffic signal at Southwest 36th and South MacArthur. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak on item 5C? Okay, staff input, please.
All right, you've got our comments before you. One thing I'll draw your attention to is on page 5 in our summary, we did run a traffic signal warrant analysis for this particular intersection. We did find that it does meet several of the warrants for consideration of the use of traffic signals. It meets the 8-hour, the 4-hour, and the peak hour volume for this particular intersection. At this point in time, should the Commission approve the request, staff is recommending that the motion for approval include widening South MacArthur Boulevard for southbound left turn lane at the intersection. One thing I also want to point out is on the day that we did run our our spot speed study, the top speed that we did note on MacArthur Boulevard was 62. Now, the 85th percentile on this particular road is speed limit's posted 45, but the 85th percentile is running at right around 51, and there are some instances where drivers are going in excess of that. So if you've got any questions regarding this particular application, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion concerning item 5C?
Chairman, I'll move the application be approved with the staff's recommendation that South MacArthur Boulevard be widened for a southbound left turn lane.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5C with the staff recommendation from Commissioner Schuline. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Clare. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5C by Commissioner Schuline to include the recommendation from staff, seconded by Commissioner Clare. Can I have your votes, please? Item is approved. We go on now to item 5D, Timothy W. Johnson, P.E., President, Johnson & Associates, Inc., to consider request to, and there's 8, change yield control to stop control items. Mr. Johnson? You have a name, address, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Tim Johnson with Johnson Associates here on behalf of the applicant, 1 East Sheridan Avenue, Suite 200, Oklahoma City. Also here is Mark Zitzauer, urban planner, and Bill Carey of Heritage Hills neighborhood. So if you've been keeping score, this is part 3 of a 4-part series that we've been bringing before you over time. So as you can see on the map up there, these are the 8 intersections that we're converting from yield, a combination of yield and stop, or just yield, to add the stop signs to continue with the promotion of both Mesta Park and Heritage Hills neighborhood to create a more pedestrian-friendly environment. So as you may recall, over time we've added signals, we've added many stop signs in Heritage Hills. These are all in Mesta Park. And then the last 4th part will probably come back before you again, requesting the one-way on Robinson to be converted back to 2-way and revision of the signal on 13th Street. But that's for a future submittal. But that was all part of the original plan that was done a number of years ago for Heritage Hills by traffic engineering consultants. So that's our request today. We've submitted some new data. We met with city staff and we submitted some additional data. We had some old or missing signatures, and so we meet in all but one instance, we meet the notice, the 67% notice. And as you know, this has been ongoing. The neighbors are expecting it, and it's just trying to contact everybody in the neighborhood is practically impossible. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Carey, I don't know if you want to speak.
All right, you got your form, thank you. And, sir, name, address, you have up to 5 minutes.
Bill Carey, 326 Northwest 16th. I shouldn't repeat anything that Tim has said, this is an ongoing process. The petitions are difficult just because you can't catch people at home. But I'll give you an instance. We needed 14 more at one point, and finally caught 14 people at home, or 15, and out of that 15, only one objected to it. And he objected because he thought it ought to be a four-way stop instead of a two-way stop. So I just would point that out. The neighborhood, I think, overwhelmingly approves of the stop signs that have been put in and are in favor of this. So appreciate your positive vote on it today. Thank you.
Hey, anybody else wanted to speak on item 5D? Yes, sir. Very good. You have your form. If I could have your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes, sir.
Lawrence Davis, and I live at 700 Northwest 14th Street, the corner of Lee and 14th. And I think if you look at the side of the package up there, I didn't realize there's a four-part process going on here for the neighborhood. When the last time we were here and we were putting in all the stop signs, it was to prevent all the traffic that was coming from 235 that was going through the neighborhood. And that was fine I thought it was a good idea to put the stop signs in there. But now if you look up there, there's like hundreds of stop signs. To drive through the neighborhood, the brakes go out in the car. And I walk Lee Avenue from 23rd to 14th almost daily to go to the park from 14th, and I have not seen any problems. I live at the corner of Lee and 14th, and there has not been an accident. The only accident there was a kid who was high on drugs that took a curve and ran into a tree. So I don't know. I think it's fine. The ones to the west of Lee Avenue is fine with me, but I don't see a problem with the ones on 14th as they are right now. So that's why I just wanted to say that not the whole neighborhood was in agreement with the changes. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5D? Okay, staff.
All right, you've got our comments before you. Just about to say, this item was continued from last month's agenda at the request of the applicant in order to have additional discussions with staff prior to this particular hearing. So on the 30th of January, our representatives from Johnson Associates in my office met. Since on the 13th of this month, we received additional petition application forms, which are reflected in the petition summaries in this particular item. This is, as Mr. Johnson noted, this is just a continuation of requests from Heritage Hills and Mesta Park areas for the addition of stop controls within the neighborhood. The maps that we did provide in this particular item, part of what they do is they serve to provide some notification and information to area residents as to how things may change with the addition of stop signs. In particular, there's one being added on, I guess, the curve where Chartel turns into Northwest 18th Street. There's an additional stop requested there. That'll result in a couple parking spaces being marked out from being able to be used, because they'll be within 30 feet upon the approach to a stop sign. That was provided mostly for residents' use, so in the event that when the stop signs go in to replace the yield signs and those parking spaces are removed from service, they'll understand why they had to be done like that, because that would be in accordance with Municipal Code Section 32304. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions the Commission may have on this particular application.
Okay. Do we have a motion concerning item 5D?
Mr. Chairman, I move the application be approved as presented.
We have a motion from Commissioner Schuline to approve item 5D. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Littlefield. Do we have any discussion? Yes, sir.
Are the updated petitions, could you please tell me where those are?
Well, just for you, on page 55 of the staff report, there is the updated petition for the intersection at Francis and Northwest 17th Street. Any updated petition information will be indicated by a red date stamp on top of it. So wherever those new forms were submitted, they were included with the appropriate application. So there'll be several pages that have got updated petitions. But they're just scattered through the report.
So am I looking at 54 and 55 side by side? One is the original, one's the updated? I'm trying to figure this out.
That's correct.
That's correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And how many needed to be updated?
I believe every application, every location needs to be updated.
Okay. I labor that a bit. I'm satisfied, but the reason why that was very important to me is because often when staff doesn't necessarily have cause to recommend approval of an item, I depend very heavily on that petition. And when I see the enthusiasm that we saw here in prior episodes of this from both the neighborhood and the petition work, it was meaningful to me. But just a comment.
Comment. A little bit more on that. When the petition is circulated, is it just one, are you asking, do you want yield or stop signs at this location? Is there any discussion about traffic calming, any other devices, or is it just strictly, we need you to sign yes or no here if you want stop sign at this location?
Stop signs was the only option available when we started this. And
the only problem I had from the speed studies, it looks like that we're well within a safe range the way it is right now, based on the 85th percentile. And it's almost, and help me out if I'm wrong, it's just almost like a feel of we're just completing 4 stages. It looks like that the things are in place to calm traffic for pedestrians currently, but it's just almost like, well, this is just part of the plan, so we just need to follow through with it, while it is, the neighborhood currently is safe for pedestrians. That's just my take on what I'm looking at.
if I might respond to that just briefly, when the study was done for both neighborhoods inclusive, the intent was to do it all then. The city's Public Works Director had requested us to space it out, and that's what we've done. And I think there are certain anticipations by the Mr. Park neighbors. Well, Heritage Hills got theirs. We didn't get our stop signs where we wanted them. So we feel, and I know Bill feels, that this is something we need to carry through.
Does anyone, do you know when the original study was done by TEC? What year?
Remember?
Anybody know that?
It's been a number of years ago, maybe 8 years ago. Maybe 8 years ago.
Or longer? It was before then.
2014.
And I bet there wasn't even any talk about traffic calming back in those days.
If it's 2014, that's 5 years ago. Which is when we just started thinking about those kind of things. Okay, anybody else want to talk about item 5D? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Schuline to approve item 5D, seconded by Commissioner Littlefield. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. Okay, we go on now to item 5E. Jesse Rush, Embark Streetcar Operations Manager, to consider a request to change the all-way stop control at South Hudson Avenue and Southwest 2nd Street to two-way stop control on Southwest 2nd Street. Do we have anybody here to speak on that one? Okay. Staff?
All right, you've got our comments before you. In this particular case, the reason for the application is Embark staff is wanting to improve operational running time for the streetcar, and part of doing that is removing the all-way stop control at Southwest 2nd and South Hudson in favor of just stop control on 2nd Street itself. At this point in time, that would probably be a beneficial thing, because when the Oklahoma City Boulevard is constructed, signal will go in at the Boulevard intersection and Hudson, and there's already a signal at Reno and Hudson, so this would be removing an all-way stop control that would be between two signalized intersections. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this particular matter.
All right. Do we have a motion concerning item 5E?
Mr. Chairman, I move the application be approved as requested by the applicant.
We have a motion to approve item 5E by Commissioner Schuline. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Milner. Any discussion? Okay. We have a motion to approve item 5E by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Milner. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. We go on now to item 5F. Mandy White Hinkle, property manager of Price Edwards and Company, to consider request to, 1, remove metered parking on the north side of West Main Street from approximately 190 feet east to 256 feet east of the east curb line of North Broadway Avenue, and 2, establish a full-time commercial loading zone on the north side of West Main Street from approximately 190 feet east to 256 feet east of the east curb line of North Broadway Avenue. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
If I could have your name, address, you have up to 5 minutes.
Yes, Mandy Hinkle, 12408 Stickney Place in Oklahoma City. I'm the property manager for the newly acquired Bank First Tower. Bank First purchased the tower. We actually closed on it August 30th, which was the minute I stepped in and started running, and immediately noticed that we pretty much had chaos when it came to deliveries. My understanding after I reached out with Stewart's department was that there previously had been a loading zone, and I do remember that there was a loading zone there previously, and I think it was in the exact same location. But when the Project 180 development improvements came in, what I learned was that the loading zone was not grandfathered in and that we would have to reapply. So there's several reasons for the need for this loading zone. For one, it kind of contains a little bit of chaos there. The building, when it was built in the early 70s, unfortunately had a flaw in the design where we have a loading dock in a private garage down below the building. However, if the truck is over 9 feet 11 inches, it can't fit down into there. So anybody who needs to bring in a large delivery, especially when you're looking at tenants such as Petroleum Club, all of those deliveries have to occur at the street level. So what we have right now is trucks are driving circles all around the parking lot. It's interfering with our neighbors. It's affected Continental, it's affected Skirvin, and it affects Bank First across the street. So then you couple in the First National construction that's going on, as well as the Project 180 construction that's going on. And, you know, we've had times when security's had to run out trying to stop people because a delivery truck has just about hit a person. So we're finishing the renovation designs on the building right now. This location of the delivery zone will complement the renovation of the building. We anticipate the deliveries will continue to arrive at street level at the southeast side of the building where we're currently requesting the location. But deliveries they will all come in between the plaza area on the east side of the building. That's the closest location to the freight elevator. So it not only is going to help improve the traffic conditions around the building, but it also helps when we're looking at the retail banking operations that are going to occur inside the lobby of the building. We have to have a way to maintain all the deliveries going to the Petroleum Club, office supplies for all of the other tenants. And when you're looking at the building at that point being 100% occupied, this we feel is the best solution to maintain not only pedestrian safety but also safety within the operations of the building. So we're hoping that you guys will definitely approve this petition. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak on 5F? Yes, ma'am. If I can have your name, address, you have up to 5 minutes.
I gave you a blue card. I'm Jane Jenkins, 220 Northwest 19th Street. I'm here representing the Downtown Oklahoma City Partnership. I wanted the Traffic Commission to be aware that through the parking management arm of Embark, formerly COTPA, we have just hired Kimley Horn to do a comprehensive on-street parking study of all the on-street parking from the river to 13th Street and basically between 235 and Western. This is going to take a look at all the uses of the parking that's there, whether they're public, whether they're loading zones, whether they're handicapped. whether they're making the best use of the space for all the businesses that surround them, whether or not that where is now free parking needs to be paid parking or metered parking. And so this is a pretty comprehensive study that's in place right now. And I would hate to see us designate loading zones at this stage of the game before we've had a chance to look at that study. I don't disagree that loading zones are necessary for businesses, but we want to be able to provide those in the most efficient way possible, again, having the most parking for the public. I also noticed that this request is for a full-time loading zone. Should the Commission decide that this building needs a loading zone right now, I would at least request that you not make it a full-time loading zone. That is prime parking for the public, for the Cox Center, as well as the Chesapeake Arena, as well as access to Bricktown. And we really need all the on-street parking that we can get, particularly now that the Santa Fe garage has been privatized and is not open to public parking. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak on 5F? All right, staff? Well, sure, please, come on up, ma'am.
I think one of the questions that I would have is, when is this study going to take place and how long is it going to take? Our issue right now is that this is an immediate safety issue at the building. By all means, anything can be changed and modified at that time. Obviously, we've got renovation plans. It may require some changes around that. So we're certainly open to any future revisions that might need to be changed or considered at that time. Our concern is that right now there is an immediate safety issue. We are not opposed to making it a part-time loading zone. Obviously, Petroleum Club is not getting deliveries that late at night. Most of the bank operations are not getting deliveries late at that night. So if one of the revisions is to make it a part-time loading zone, we would be open to considering that as well, if we had any input. Thank you.
I would say the need is immediate. It's certainly acceptable, particularly if it was a part-time loading zone and they were willing to look at loading zones in a different way after the study is done, because I do not, even though I don't know the timeline, I don't think it will be done in enough time to accommodate their needs right now.
Okay. So we have our input. Anybody else on 5F? All right, staff?
All right, you've got our comments before you. We don't have any supplemental recommendations relative to the consideration of the request. We had marked to be a full-time, the zone to be in effect on a full-time basis, but if the applicant is satisfied with it being in effect not on a full-time basis, that means this zone would be effective Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And beyond those times, it could be used for public parking purposes. And as far as what they're looking at is converting what are currently being used as 3 metered spaces, and that would give you about a 66-foot long loading zone. As far as future studies go, at such time that those are brought forward to the city, the commission will have to consider, again, any changes to downtown parking and loading zones. So any study that's done independently will be subject to the commission review and, as needed, recommendations to the city council, as it would affect metered parking, time-limited parking, or reserved parking for the physically disabled.
Okay. Do we have a motion concerning item 5F?
Mr. Chairman, I move the application be approved subject to Stewart's recommendation that it be utilized or effective Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. Counselor, is it okay if we modify? Yes. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Schuline to approve item 5F number 1 and 5F number 2 as modified to be part-time commercial loading zone, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. One moment, please. Okay. Ma'am, you okay with this modification to the motion? Well, thank you, ma'am. And she said yes. For the microphone, she said yes. Okay, do we have a second for item 5F?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Milner. Do we have any discussion on 5F? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5F from Commissioner Schuline for 5F1 and modified 5F2 to be part-time Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and seconded by Commissioner Milner. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. We go on now to item 5G, Lawrence Lucas, to consider a request for a mid-block pedestrian crossing on North Phillips Avenue, approximately 157 feet north of the north curb line of Northeast 16th Street. Hello.
I'm Jean Lucas, and my husband and I have owned this small
Just one moment, ma'am. Can I have your address, please?
12700 North Council Road.
Okay.
This property is on Culbertson Drive, and it's one of the earliest small shopping centers in Oklahoma City. We've owned it for a number of years, but we've been realigning some of our tenants, restaurants and offices, and we're concerned that we need a safe crossing space between our parking, overflow parking, and the tenants in the shopping center. We've asked Mr. Brent Wall to be our consultant in this matter, and I'd like to introduce him.
Have you filled out one of these?
I will before.
Okay, when we're done, please. If I could have your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name's Brent Wall, at 2426 North Classen Boulevard, Oklahoma City. I would reiterate what Mrs. Lucas said. They are a longtime tenant of this area. They are continuing to maintain their building and make improvements, and want to anticipate quite a bit more traffic at their location, both vehicular and pedestrian traffic from the neighborhood and the adjacent Health Sciences Center. As you walk north on Phillips, once you hit the area of the mid-block crossing, you literally run into a dumpster that is pretty much in the right-of-way, and there is no sidewalk there. Also, from the intersection of Northeast 16th and Phillips, walking north, there is no sidewalk going north, and it terminates going south if you're walking to the south. So currently, there really is no way to get from their parking lot to their place of business. So this seems pretty, hopefully, straightforward for us. We, as the owners, are willing to implement the improvements, which would really consist of evaluating all the existing sidewalks that are adjacent to their parking lot, making sure that ADA compliance is there, constructing 2 new ADA compliant ramps, striping on the street, and then connecting over to their existing sidewalks. We've tried to take a pretty minimal approach right now. If in the future, there's any more conflict, I think they would be willing to do more. But I think right now this is a pretty minimal intervention that should help and make their parking lot way more utilized than it is now.
All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak on item 5G? All right, staff.
All right, you've got our comments before you. Action on this matter is going to be at the discretion of the Commission. This particular mid-block crossing is located at a point on Phillips between 16th and East Drive, and it occurs at a point where the sidewalk ends on one side of Phillips and then resumes on the opposite side of the street. As noted, the applicants indicated they'll bear the construction costs to construct ADA-compliant crossing ramps at the location. So if this matter is approved, staff is recommending that approval will be subject to the applicant bearing the responsibility for preparing public improvement construction documents and being responsible for the construction of the ramps and sidewalks at the requested crossing location. On that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on this application.
Do we have a motion concerning 5G?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the motion.
Which includes the staff recommendation.
Staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Miller to approve item 5G, which includes the staff recommendations. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Littlefield. Any discussion?
A compliment. Anytime we have an opportunity to connect pedestrians safely, it's a really good thing. Good job.
Okay, any other comments on 5G? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5G by Commissioner Miller, which includes staff recommendations, seconded by Commissioner Littlefield. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. We go on now to item 5H, Raj, Managing Partner, Cirrus Hotels, LLC, to consider requests to establish a full-time passenger loading zone on the south side of Northwest 6th Street from approximately 200 feet east to 273 feet east of the east curb line of North Broadway Avenue. Hi, sir. Can I have your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Jason Emmett, 5400 North Grand Boulevard, Oklahoma City. I'm just here today to represent Sirius Hotels and answer any questions you might have.
All right, very good. Thank you. Ma'am? Again, if I could have your name, address, and 5 minutes.
Jane Jenkins, 220 Northwest 19th Street, representing the Downtown Oklahoma City Partnership and the Automobile Alley Board of Directors. For the same reasons that I stated earlier about the study in progress, we really don't support any loading zones being added at this time, particularly with this one because there's no immediate need for this. Also, I would say that the design of this particular property has not passed downtown design review and has been continued now until April, so there's not an emergency or immediate need to do this, and I think it would be prudent to wait until after we see what the final design of the hotel will be on 6th Street before we look at where the loading zones need to be. Thank you.
Sir?
That is true. Well, the client has postponed until April, and if everybody feels necessary, we can definitely wait until that's done. That's not a big deal at all.
Okay, so you're okay with wait until after the final plans of the hotel are
until
done?
It's approved. They have
and then maybe tie in with them and make sure that that study is tied into what you kind of need in your area.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have no problem with that.
Okay. Staff?
All right, you had our comments before you. Can I ask, when will the hearing in April be?
I know it's the third week. I don't know the exact date.
Okay, because the commission meets third Monday.
Right.
So that it may not be prudent to hear this item in April. It might need to go to May. Right. Because otherwise you'll be in the same boat that you are in right now.
Well, would you need the loading zone right away if
No, it's not that. I think that this is just one of the determining factors of if the project can actually happen or not. They're not going to build this if they can't get a loading zone, given kind of what they're going through. So they're spending a lot of money right now trying to just determine, okay, is this a viable project? They have every intention of working with the Downtown Review Board, making this thing look the way that they want it to look. In fact, I think they've had multiple meetings on it. It's just, obviously, they don't want to keep spending money if they can't get a loading zone.
Well, is that going to be part of their effort to the boards to include that loading zone in your master plan? Is that going to be?
Absolutely. If you want to go back to maybe the plan view, the loading zone itself will not change as far as location goes. I think right now it's the exterior part of the building and the materials on the building that they're working with the Downtown Review Board on.
So is it a stop point? Is it something that if you don't act on it, they could just cancel the whole project?
Yeah, they're not going to do the project if they can't get the loading zone. So maybe we do need to vote on it today. Obviously, we're going to work with the Downtown Review Board as far as the exterior materials of the building and making it look and conform to that area. But we need the loading zone for sure.
And does the Downtown Review Board get into the loading zone part of it and the parking around there, or is it just a building?
Well, the commission is the only body that's authorized with respect to establishing loading zones. So, I mean, this item, if it is approved by the commission but does not get approved at a later date, I mean, if we know that this particular project does not go on to completion, we can come back and bring an item that basically just removes it, because any loading zone that this body approves is just done by resolution. It's not a matter that goes on to the city council.
Right, and so this loading zone won't be in effect right away, per se?
No, it will not until the hotel is constructed. If the hotel doesn't get constructed, they're not going to build the loading zone, so.
That's correct, because the loading zone they're proposing is within a lay-by that would be constructed as a part of this particular project.
So it's not going to be part of building the hotel. It's more or less, once the hotel's up and running, then the loading zone will be there.
That is correct, yes.
And
It's actually off-street. It's behind where the curb is today, but it is in the city right-of-way.
That's the offset you were talking about. Right. So the fact that if we approve this, you would just put that on your map and show that it'll be there, and then if all the processes works and you get authorization to build, you build the place. When it's all up and running, then the loading zone's there.
No, the loading zone will be constructed when the hotel
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, will be constructed, but not in use per se.
Oh, no, it will not be in use unless the hotel is completely functioning and open.
Okay, so it's not being used to bring supplies, because that'll all be in the fenced-off area kind of thing, I see.
Right, and the way this item is structured, the loading zone that the commission is looking to take action on is within the proposed lay-by. So if the lay-by, that extra widened area next to the road is never constructed, then this item's kind of moot.
Right. That's correct.
All right, then let's listen to her, please.
The Automobile Alley Design Committee and Board feel like the loading zone is part of the overall construction because it is part of the lay-by, and that it ought to be approved. I understand that we have two separate bodies here that have to take two separate actions because of this. That's a quirky way that our things work sometimes, but they think that it's integral to the whole design that they're working on now, and that it's premature to approve the loading zone now when the design has not even gone to DDRC. And he's right, they are working with DDRC, and we are trying to get a meeting scheduled with the Automobile Alley Design Review Board. But again, I think that this is not a problem that we have with loading zones or lay-bys, in particular for the use of the hotel, but the timing of the matter. Thank you.
Okay, so what you're saying is the loading zone, because it's a lay-by, will be considered as part of their plan, and if that board looks at that whole plan and likes the outside and all the other issues you were talking about and looks at the lay-by and looks at the loading zone and all that, that they would approve that, and then it would come to us and say, now we need you to officially make it a loading zone. Okay.
Right, and I respectfully ask that we not postpone it till May for a loading zone that is going to, again, if the hotel doesn't conform, the loading zone is not going to happen. So I'm just asking to approve the loading zone, and we can work through everything with the Downtown Review Board and so on today, so we don't have to wait till May.
Or later, or whenever it's approved.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So if I understand correctly, if we approve this today, you will be able to go with a different process with this in hand, ready to go, approved, and it'll be up to them whether they want to go with your plan or not. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, if we get this approved today, that's not saying that everything else is approved. I mean, we have a lot of other approvals to work through. So
if we approve and they disapprove, then this is kind of a moot point.
Right.
Well, if they move it by 40 feet, say, I'm just throwing a number out there. They say, no, we like everything, but this has to be moved by 40 feet. You would just come back to here, and it would just modify the loading zone size. Yes. Ma'am, does that sound okay? Is that...
You know, without saying too much, because this isn't the right body, but there are a lot of concerns about the design of this particular project from the standpoint of the Automobile Design Committee and the board and the Downtown Design Review Committee. That's why we would prefer to consider it all as part of a big project. Again, if this gets passed and we're able to come to an agreement, you know, about this design, it's fine to move forward. We understand that they will need a lay-by and a loading zone to proceed. It's just that the design as it is presented right now is not anywhere close to being acceptable to Automobile Alley. So that's why they would prefer that they wait and consider it all. Certainly you can approve it today, but I'm just asking you on behalf of Automobile Alley to please consider it as part of the whole package. Thank you.
But with that, again, I just respectfully disagree, because they're spending a lot of money here, and if you don't approve it today, then obviously we got to go back and we've got to reanalyze a lot of things on whether they even do the project. Granted, if they don't approve this, the project won't happen, and this is all moot point anyway. So,
yeah, and if there is a number change from whatever 199 to 272, you just come and make the modification. And all you're looking for is just that we, as a traffic commission, is approving the concept, or is approving a loading zone on an offset for this hotel when it's up and running. Okay. Sir, do you have any? No, you saw it, but okay.
Is there a consideration for the possibility of approving something like this with a contingency? That we approve it today, but it wouldn't go into effect unless it was approved by the Automobile Alley board? Is that possible? Help them both out?
It seems like that if we approve this today and they disapprove, then it's over. The project's just not going to happen. And
I just want to make
it. That's why I would go ahead and make the motion to approve it today.
Make it clear that Automobile Alley does not have any standing about approving the project. They can only make their recommendations to the Downtown Design Review Board, which is the board that will make the decision about whether to move it forward or not. But usually with projects that are built in this particular district, there's a design review process, and it's voluntary to make sure everyone's on board, because we prefer to go to Downtown Design Review on the same page as the developers so that we can all go together and say, this is a great project, we're glad they're coming.
So just so that I can understand, and being polite, is it your fear that if this commission today were to approve this, it would send some kind of a message to the design review committee that we're like saying go for it, or?
I guess I'm saying no. I don't have any ulterior motives in that, other than I just think it's premature and that ought to be considered as part of the whole design of the project. That's all. I just think I agree that, you can say, yes, they're spending a lot of money. We are happy about the investment. We know they need a loading zone to move forward, but I just think that approving a loading zone today separate from a comprehensive design is premature, but it doesn't have any ulterior messages, I don't think, about sending for something. It's just a timing issue, but thank you.
And we typically don't have a lot of struggle approving them. Sometimes we do, but if they're pretty straightforward in the future.
And if it's an offset, it's not taking any of our street. Okay. Yeah. So,
Mr. Chairman, can I move to approve it?
That's where I'm coming. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I move.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Miller to approve item 5H. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Hale. Do we have any further discussion?
Just have a quick comment.
Yes, sir.
Usually when we look at these, we do have an engineered site plan with dimensions on it that details how far this loading zone is from alleys, intersections, how deep it is, how long it is. We don't have any of those dimensions right now. So I feel it is a little bit, as Ms. Jenkins was saying, a little bit premature. But
okay, he'll be looking here in just a second. Stuart, did we have any of that kind of information?
I guess I was just emailed what was submitted to the city, and it had a site plan in there with dimensions on it. So maybe I'm off here. 1 second.
No, any information that we received relative to the project, we included with the application in itself. So if there's a site plan that's been received, it's been received supplemental to that.
So you don't show anything of what he's asking for?
No, not at this point in time.
And is that necessary for us to approve?
No, because there have been many instances when the commission will take action on something in the advance of, in advance of final plans. This would not be a groundbreaking change for this
So, of
project.
course, if they came in to the city and their loading zone was only 2 feet wide, you would then say, no, you can't. You would sign off on the engineering.
Or if it was moved to the other end of the building, we'd bring it back. But the description is not set in stone, it's approximate, and that's why it's written like that. So if there are subtle adjustments to it,
Well, as with the, if I'm correct, as with the parking concern of the size of a parking space, you remember we've had that talk, how big is a parking space long?
Right.
9 feet, 8 feet, 11 feet, whatever. Is there a concern here with the size of a loading zone, a setback loading zone? Would it have to be big enough to hold the vehicle without going into the right-of-way? Is that just a common sense thing, or is there a standard that they
it would
have
be
to
something that
build
we
it
would
by?
look at the time that plans come in, because this is a modification within the public right-of-way, so there will be a set of plans that the Public Works Department will review, and we will make sure that the loading zone itself will be of sufficient width so that a vehicle that pulls in will be far enough off the road and also be ADA compliant as well.
That's right. The day prior to postponing their, I guess, submittal to the Downtown Review Board, we submitted the PD plans to you, which actually showed all of this, which was, I think, Wednesday or Thursday last week, so you probably hadn't seen them yet. But we've got plans submitted. It's just not.
Okay, which includes all those,
Yes, sir.
those
Yes.
items. Does that help you, sir? Is that okay?
I mean, yeah, I haven't seen them, but, yeah, I mean, in principle, we're approving a zone, and it's up to Public Works and Engineering to approve the dimensions of it, so.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well, we've learned a lot here. All right, so we have, is there any more talk on item 5H? All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Hale, to approve item 5H. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. All right, thank you. We go on now to item 6, comments from citizens. Anybody out there want to talk? Oh, one moment.
Did we skip item E by chance?
E? Did I? No, no. No, in fact, you approved. The what?
Oh, was it withdrawn?
Oh, the item from the Embark for Hudson and 2nd Street. The representative from Embark wasn't here, but I did speak to that effect.
You approved. It was your motion, sir. All right, we got that cleared up. So item 6, comments from citizens. Anybody have anything? Okay, item 7, reports from other traffic commissioners, et cetera. We'll start over here with Ward 1, Commissioner Clare.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Littlefield.
I think I have the worst allergies I've ever had in my life, and I wish this committee could do something about it. Briefly, we had some really great discussion here last month. With regard to defining or a loss of the restriction of where we were going with stop signs, and just really great discussion about restrictions and appropriate applications. We move forward doing that. I think it would be a really great thing to incorporate whenever that becomes into the ASAP. I think the stop signs are a part of the and I would love to really consider that.
Okay. Anything else, sir? Okay. Then we are going on here to Commissioner Hale.
Just real quickly, the item that we looked at today on South MacArthur, I would like to see us to where when we do have 85th percentile, but have a number of traffic, a lot of vehicles exceeding the speed limit to that, at that point in time, it'd be referred to Oklahoma City Police for action on their part. On that one, it's South MacArthur, from that very short time where it was observed, you know, we've got a 45-mile-an-hour zone, and we've got traffic at 60 miles an hour. So I think that that would justify contacting Oklahoma City Police and go ahead and get an officer out there.
He shook his head. We're on it. Very good point.
What I'm getting at is when we get results like that back, that Stewart's office go ahead and take the initiative.
Oh, right off the bat do it,
Yes.
even before it comes to us?
Yes.
That's what he's asking for. When you see numbers that high, just send it right on over to them.
Okay, we can do that.
Well, I think it
Okay,
would be
that's a good
justified
point.
to do that.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
needed. So,
And then maybe by then, they may have an input of what they might have seen and everything, which would affect their report.
the lady today made the comment that if people were observing the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, that it would be fine, that she would not be there asking for that traffic control. But since the speeding was so prevalent, that's why she petitioned for the traffic device. So,
Who works on like trees in that area kind of thing, on the right of way like that? You know, like she said, right now it's not a problem because there's no leaves. But she gets up there and there's leaves, she can't see as far. Is that?
It would be something we would have to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. A lot of times we'll get citizen requests that come in through the Action Center, or they should contact our office directly relative to view obstructions, and we'll investigate those. If it's a tree that's in the public right-of-way that needs to be trimmed, typically we get assistance from the Parks Department to get some trimming done. And that's
Or
very
maybe we
useful.
could ask them to look at this situation, maybe even without the leaves there, but they could see where the branches are and know that that's going to be a problem.
We would field review it first.
Okay. So if you could.
Yeah,
look at
because,
that.
when we do decision site distance, we go at a point that's 10 feet back off the edge of the road. If the driver in this case is sitting maybe at a location maybe 15 or something like that back, something that may constitute a view obstruction at 15 won't constitute a view obstruction when it's 10 feet off the edge of the road.
I think her
itself.
thing was her height, being up there at 5 feet in a F-250 compared to a normal 3.5 of a regular car. So if you could maybe have
We'll
them
have it
check
reviewed.
that. Okay, thank you. All right, and we go now to Commissioner Schuline.
Nothing to report, thanks, sir.
Commissioner Miller.
Nothing, sir.
Commissioner Milner.
I do.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make a comment about the third phase that we approved for Heritage Hills and Mesta. Commissioner Hale made a comment that I feel really applies to me because I have not been here on the first two approvals that we made, and he made the comment we feel like we're approving this third phase because it's the thing to do, because it's in their plan. Will we ever have an opportunity to have data come out of that neighborhood on what all these stop signs have done? If it has slowed anybody down, or you follow me? For someone like me who's sitting here going, we're going to do this because you say this is going to work, at what point do we get to turn around and say we're going to continue to do this because it is working, because we have data?
We can collect it. We've got, for all the studies that we had done prior to this, for the first phase of the stop signs, because what's happened in Heritage Hills Mesta Park so far is there was a series of stop requests that were approved, and then the last thing that went through was some speed limit changes, I think on Robinson, Chartel, and even on Broadway. And so this right here, the application that was considered today was the conversion of some yield-controlled intersections to stops. But we've collected volume and speed data at every location before any changes were made. So we can actually come back and look at some of the locations where changes were requested in the past, and we can give you a before and after snapshot.
I think it's the after. I'm just curious. If that's even customary, we can do that. That way you can just sit back. Well, for anybody, not just me, but when he said that, I'm thinking that I do feel like that's the moment I'm living. I'm agreeing with it. I think it's important. They've done a lot of hard work and study on it, but can we even get numbers on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and we'll go through the applications previously, find the locations where maybe some of the traffic volumes and speeds might have been higher, and then we can come back and report on what the changes were at those locations.
I would like to just mention that the times that we have asked for that, like on Northwest 23rd, it was very helpful that we had a request to reduce the speed limit, which we honored. And then with follow-up, come to find out that the traffic was flowing at a higher rate of speed than what it was before we took action. So that type of result, feedback, is very helpful as far as knowing how to take action on other requests. So yeah, the more feedback we can get, the more I would personally appreciate it.
Just so you know, from what I understand of the whole package deal was cutting down the number of vehicles processing through the neighborhood as a through way, not sticking to the main arteries. And so one of the intents was to make it so people stayed on the normal arteries that went around the neighborhood instead of flowing through. So I don't think it was more of a speed issue, it was more of a traffic count, which of course can be then checked to see if it did.
I think I'm totally in favor of what they're doing. I think I would still come back and say, I know that was the desired goal as well, but how many stop signs achieves that, and then how many stop sign is, now we're just putting in stop signs because that intersection has it in this intersection. I'm really not trying to be difficult. I feel like that. But
That's a good point, is there's a lot of work done.
Because there's other neighborhoods that are coming in. We've seen 2 other neighborhoods that package stop signs together, and I think sometimes you sit up and you just kind of think, well, how are we discerning who this works, this doesn't work, what are you trying to achieve, what do you need done? And that they're right, especially that neighbor that came up and did disagree, and I appreciated him coming, just saying we have a lot of stop signs now, and what did it take to achieve your goal, and at what point did you achieve it? And at what point are we just now going through the motions to finish that out?
Right, which is what led to the Traffic Common Subcommittee and the work over the last 6 years. These established neighborhoods, because of growth of the city, become now through neighborhoods, and that creates a problem. When it's just a neighborhood by itself, it takes care of itself, but once you start bringing other vehicles in, then it becomes that problem. That's what we've seen. Yeah, where we would rather people stay on the outer roads where they need to be. Okay. Yes, sir.
John, I did a literature research here, and I give some papers to Stuart that you might want to look at. The studies that's been done. There's lots of studies, and he might want to share those with you. I don't know. I thought these were interesting. Of the concept that stop signs don't affect speed, they don't affect a lot of things. And the concept that we never look at here is the road user cost to put them in. There's a cost for those things. There's fuel consumption, there's travel time, delay, and all that people have to consider. More importantly, on your freeways and your major roadways. But even a stop sign, there's been studies done where they've done, if you looked at that map where all those stop signs was, and they calculated the road user cost for that neighborhood, those people they're not asked that when they're asked to sign that petition. Do you support a stop sign here? We need to slow these people down. That's all they get. They don't tell them what the rest of the story is. The road user cost is tremendous with a 4-way stop sign. The level of service that you put on a roadway is all degraded for everything you do to them. I thought it was interesting. I mean, some of it, but Stuart's got it. I wanted him to see it, see if he agreed with it before he passed it out.
Commissioner Miller is exactly right. And it sounds to me like he's trying to sell an ASAP program. And I would love to see some elements in that. We've talked about, you can paint the speed limit on the street. There's lots of different things I think that we can try instead of stop signs. I totally agree with you.
Well, how to get it done? The committee on the MUTCD meets twice a year, and they establish what goes in the MUTCD, and that's where you won't see the rub on the stop sign. Stuart knows what I'm talking about because I've been to the committee meetings, and if you can get that petition changed in the MUTCD, then it becomes the law of the land. There goes your ASAP real quick. You've got something you can back up. This is recommended. You just can't get them to recommend it yet because the studies don't back it up at this time.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I also want to make on record, I'm not against anything that neighborhood's doing. I know that is tough work. They have put in the hours to get that done. Just somebody that is kind of catching up to it. Just more education. So I appreciate it. Thanks for the input.
Okay. Any other of the commissioners? Law enforcement? Counselor? Staff?
Just our monthly report on the installation of yield signs installed administratively, but other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
And I'd just like to say thank you to everybody here on the Traffic Commission for the card for my older brother, Don, who passed. It was really nice to receive this. And to feel that, you know, I don't have to be here. We had our vice chair here to run the meeting. You guys came up with a lot of good stuff. So I just want to say thanks to everybody. It was really nice when I got this in the mail. Thank you. Anybody else have any business for this Traffic Commission? All right, stand adjourned.